Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this LinkedIn Live. Are doing another Fireside Chat. Today with us is Thermon Rick Holliday, a
Mhm.
Medicare broker. Hello, Rick. How are you?
I am very well. So thank you so much, and Sammy having me on. I appreciate it. Looking forward to our little chat.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you with us. So let's start off by what do you do? I kind of gave it away with your title. And what are you working on today specifically?
Oh wow, that's a loaded question. So technically speaking, I'm a life and health licensed agent. With that, it allows me to carve out little specialty areas. And for me, the area that I've carved out, the niche that I support is Medicare. Medicare is obviously a federal program that's derived from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. It's Medi-Cal here in California. And really what we do is we just help people with education, advice, and enrollment into the Medicare plan, or I like to refer to it as retirement health care. And a great example of that is today I was speaking with a woman earlier, and she had some concerns and issues over her plan and what it was supposed to do and how the benefits worked. And so was giving her advice in that respect to kind of educate her on what was going on inside of her plan so she could best maximize it. And listen, honestly, it's the most interesting thing because last night again, I was talking to another potential client, and his reference was, I've been a medical doctor for 20 plus years. I'm retiring. I don't have a first idea or clue about Medicare or what to do or how to do it. I
Wow.
was referred to you, so run me through this whole process. And that's really where the game begins for me with almost every client that I have.
Wow, that's great. That sounds so interesting. So how did you get here? How did you end up in this position?
Ooh, that's another great sport. And actually, it's kind of apropos because 6 years ago, my mother passed today.
Ugh,
And it's kind of a joyous event for me because, obviously she was able to go transition in her life and she had a great life. She dealt with some battles of cancer and whatnot at the end of her life. But prior to that, when we discovered that she'd had that event happen, the cancer came about. My sister and I were just trying to figure out how we need to help her, what we need to do, the things we need to adjust for and plan for, and the cost factors, the finances, the Medicare, the healthcare, whatever it needed to be. And we were kind of scrambling, but knowing our mothers, we should have realized she had all that lined up. She was a
yeah.
very meticulous person. She planned in advance. She did a lot of pre-planning. And so I look to her as the outlier for what most people do. She's the yin to the yang. She does it, most people don't even think about it. And so when she did pass and we celebrated her life, at that point I really was motivated to try to find an opportunity to give back in her name. And so I focused myself in on Medicare because I knew so many more people, even in her small group of friends, had no idea about how to plan for this. And watching her, they were like, oh, it must be easy. And actually, it's a little more complicated than you would like it to be. It's the government, obviously. And
Yeah.
so, with that in mind, we were really able to educate people and advise people. And from there, I just said, okay, I'm all in and just ran with it and have been doing it ever since. So this is my 6th year business, if you will. And going into what we usually call AEP or annual enrollment period. It'll be my 7th annual enrollment period. So I'm excited for the year.
Well, that's great. That's a really beautiful story. I'm glad that you can honor your mom in such a way like that. It sounds like she'd be very proud of you. So thank you. Yeah, my parents are older and my grandmother's still alive, and luckily they're kind of outliers as well. So
Mhm.
I'm very grateful they have that set up. But I know that, like you said, that's not the case. So the fact that you're helping that part of our population is very near and dear to me as well. So thank you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then let's take it way back than
Mhm.
further than 6 years ago. What was your first job?
Ooh, yeah. My first job. It's funny. I kind of grew up in and around Pasadena, California. Born in LA, Compton area. My parents moved out to Altadena when we were 4 or 5 years old, right around kindergarten age. And so, all my memories are Pasadena. And Pasadena opened a mall when malls were popular, back in the mid to late 70s. And my first job was actually working at the May Company in the Pasadena Mall. And my first position inside of May Company, I actually was one of the gentlemen who helped put together the mannequins. So I was putting together mannequins and stick them in the right spots. And I guess most people would look at a mannequin and say, oh, mannequins, that's just a cheap piece of plastic. These mannequins were so expensive. They actually imported them from Germany. They cost like $800, like a mannequin. At the time, that's probably
Yeah.
equivalent to $2,000, $3,000. And I was like, it's just amazing. And they packaged them so tightly that when you open the box, this German air came out of there and sometimes would be too strong. And you'd be like, oh my God, what choke. But it was amazing. It was a great entry into, what would then obviously be my work life for forever. But that was the first job. It was crazy.
Wow. That sounds interesting. And not, since that job is long gone, did you ever break a mannequin?
No, heck no, no. I took my time because you didn't want to do that because that could cost you your job. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was really interesting.
Uh, Thermon, your LinkedIn profile should say from mannequins to Medicare.
Wow.
I love that. That's great. No, that's hey, you never know, man. It's time to rebrand a little bit. I'm actually, interestingly enough, doing some marketing upgrades right now. I'm using a great marketing organization right now, Chrysalis Marketing, and so she's helping me. Cindy, that is, who runs it, is helping me set up and rebrand everything. So all my stuff will be brand new shortly. Keep an eye out for that probably in the next 30, 40 days.
Great.
So,
Congrats. That's exciting.
Hmm.
Thermon, you mentioned like you educate people a
Mhm.
lot. So, what's like a quick 2-minute summary of the education that you provide?
Yeah. Kind of the initial piece is there's two things I really like to explain. One is the relationship between Medicare and Social Security. Because most people say, okay, Medicare, well, how do you get Medicare? Does it come free in the mail? What do you do? The answer is that Social Security and Medicare, I like to call them sister companies or sister departments. They're sister departments under the Health and Human Services as the parent. So Health and Human Services, one of the larger branches of the government in a departmental sense, and they have two children, Social Security and Medicare. And so you have to speak to the eldest, which is Social Security first before you talk to Medicare.
Mm.
Entry into Medicare comes through enrollment into parts A, B in Social Security. So you have to do that through Social Security links. You have to set up a Social Security account, and then you just verify everything that you're even eligible to enter into Medicare by way of payroll taxes and all the things we have done historically by working for at least 10 plus years and being a citizen or registered legal resident here in the US. Now, once that's done, then now you get into all the minutia and all the alphabet soup of it because there's part A, part B, part D, part C. There's Medigap, Medicare supplements. Then there's plans A, C, N, K, L, G, F, just to kind of get you started. So from that, you put it all together like a big puzzle, and it comes out with a plan for you. So I tell people, to simplify it, all of us have either spent some time at McDonald's, hopefully, at least went through the drive-in or walked in there one time in your life, got a burger, fry, and a shake. I said, so think of it this way. Medicare has basic components. Part A is your hamburger, part B are your fries, and part D, as in drugs or David, is the shake. You have to have those things to have a meal, but you also have to have those things to have what is known as original Medicare. Now, Medicare, like McDonald's, one day said, you know what, there's got to be an easier way. And so they came up with an idea called Part C. People also know it as Medicare Advantage. I say, if you've ever been to McDonald's and you bought a Happy Meal, what comes in a Happy Meal? Burger, fries, drink, and then they throw in a bunch of toys, right? That's Medicare Advantage. That's Part C. It's your Part A, your Part B, your Part D, and a bunch of toys thrown in on top. Typically, the toys can run the gamut. They are vision, dental, hearing. You also have things like transportation. People often talk about, oh, do you get a gym membership with this? Yes, they have gym memberships in there.
Wow.
Some are amazing, with what you can do within the places you can go. But all those varietal benefits are all thrown into that one bag, and that's Medicare Advantage.
And couple of questions. One is McDonald's is a drive-through, and I don't know what the time limit is, but like maybe a minute and you have your burger. Is that how fast it works with Medicare too, or it takes a
So, you
little
know
more
what?
time?
No,
I
that's
think
kind of a good. I'm gonna have to add that. Thank you
my
for that, Sam.
internet is
That's really good.
stalling.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So that, and then the other question is like, who's eligible for Medicare?
Okay, that's a great question too. So Medicare primarily is eligibility rings in when you're 65 years old.
Mhm.
So once you hit the 65-year mark, you start. But I often try to tell people you want to plan for Medicare in your 64th year. If you
Mm.
wait to 65, some things happen and you can kind of run into some issues. In particular, if you're working a job and trying to consider whether to retire, take benefits, or continue work and go on, you need to make some decisions on how you're going to and how it affects Medicare as you move through 65 years old. With Social Security, because there's other age requirements there that you have to be concerned with. You can work in Social Security and affect your benefit by working through age 70. So oftentimes people are being taught and coached now to try to work as long as they can so they can maximize their Social Security benefit upon retirement. And that also allows you to affect some of the benefits that come with Medicare because it can increase some of the base costs, if you will, or if you have a need for some health care, maybe Medicare is a better option than the healthcare plan you have with the employer group. But those things have to kind of be addressed as you look at it. So, as you're saying, I educate and I advise. The advisory role really comes into play when people are beyond 65, either have it or making
Mm.
considerations on retirement, because it can be challenging to understand what you need to do. And then if you're supporting a family, spouse, partner, whatnot, leaving an employer group plan may not be the right option because you may lose that benefit too. So we have to really kind of, measure and then cut, measure twice, cut once type of scenario so as to not make any mistakes.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, Alyssa, you have more questions, right?
Yeah, I just have a couple more questions. Working with the older population, do you have any cybersecurity concerns, or how has that changed with so much
Yeah.
tech being added into even the federal government?
Man, and that's why I wanted to do this with Sammy when we met the first time. I was like, oh, cybersecurity, we need to talk.
Mm.
Medicare as a rule, and one of the reasons I even got into it, as opposed to some of the other insurance vehicles that are out there, is because there's so many rules. And I kind of like that for the protection aspect of it. Medicare will never ask you for information, personal information, because they have it. They shouldn't need to ask. So if
Mm.
you're getting these phone calls and people trying to grift you or whatnot to say, oh, give us your Medicare information and whatnot so we can get you this plan information, I coach everyone I speak to, don't do it. There's no need to. They should have your information. If they don't, it's a scam. The one of my clients says the hackers and the scammers. Oh, the hackers and the scammers got into my program again. The hackers and the scammers. She's very much afraid of anything with respect to that activity happening.
Right.
And then we see, the breach opportunities that can happen with some of the medical groups, some of the carriers. So there are huge concerns in the cybersecurity space with respect to Medicare because it's healthcare. HIPAA rules, Health Information Protection Act are in place to give people just that protection against loss of information, the passing of information. I use secure emails and secure servers to gain information from people because I'm asking them typically to provide me with their Medicare number, maybe their social security, their birth date, all these personal, PII and PHI information that's so delicate that, once aggregated together, boom. The rules of Medicare also mandate that I don't keep everything in one location. So if I have Medicare information, let's say I have their Medicare number and their name, I'm to keep their birth date and maybe social security in another file location, another spot. So having firewalls, having, dual verifications, having just more ways to protect. They run these tests. This is the scary thing. Luckily, I've taken advice from you and people like you, Sammy. They
Mhm.
run tests where the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid will call you and ask to do an audit of your security. So
Mm.
they'll ask, okay, you have to have 3-click protection before you get to any files about your client base,
Wow.
or you have to have it stored in a separate storage unit, electronic storage. If it's cloud-based, you have to have multi-tier protection, dual verification to get into it. There's just all these rules, and they'll literally access your computer, through the technology that's accessible to do that. And they'll say, okay, let's see, where's your files? And they'll see if they can defeat your security within 3 clicks. And if they can, it's not like you're going to get a fine, but it's just a warning that you need to upgrade your security. So cyber is, for us, is huge. And the pandemic double down and triple down on it, if you will, because in the past, it was a lot of paperwork where we would scan and report. But,
Mm-hmm.
Being that we didn't want to get that close to people in 2020 and 21 and 22, it became more evident that we could do things online. And so being able to transact business online became much more in vogue. And along with that, obviously the risk factor just jumped through the roof.
Right.
People were just, sending emails all over the place and doing all kind of craziness. So yeah, cyber is a huge concern for anyone that's in the Medicare space or healthcare in general for that reason.
Wow. Yeah, I know there was some breaches even like as recent
Mhm.
as last week that people were not able to get prescription medication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Cool. My
Good stuff.
internet is breaking up, of course, and
No, you're good. Yeah. But
yeah,
but you're mentioning about like the recent issues. I mean, we're talking like the big companies, the Walgreens, CVS's, multifaceted protections, and still being attacked constantly,
right.
because there's so much rich data. So yeah. And we interact with them constantly. I mean, I'm always on the phone, doing business with a client on the line, trying to protect or gain access to information for them. And it's always a huge concern. And having some ways to protect and really defend against that is so huge and important. It's amazing.
Cool, cool, awesome. So you're carrying a lot of Social Security in your pocketbook, I guess. Yeah. You are a prime
Driver's license.
target. Yeah. I
Oh,
went
I
to
know
a
exactly. Yeah, nobody hear that. Nobody listen to that. Yeah.
I went to an old age retirement home and to talk about elderly scams because that's like $3 billion plus just
Mhm.
last year. And there was a lady who was 107 years old, and she was the most cyber secure minded. She was like, anytime I get a call, I just hang up. I was like, that's the best. Don't engage. More you are on the phone, more, they have control over you. Yeah.
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 I mean, I have a client. Actually, I spoke with her son this morning, and it's funny because she still has a landline, and it's just not even a joke. This is no hyperbole or whatnot. Her landline rings from 8 o'clock in the morning to about 4 in the afternoon, probably every 5 to 10 minutes. It rings with
Oh,
someone else calling or something, and she's just a huge target and she's been duped in the past.
Ooh,
So we put, all kinds of protections in the landlines. She just has to have it. We've tried to even pull that out, but she has to have it. So just the fact that even with the education that she's been given and the protections in place, people are still calling,
yeah.
still coming in.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, knowledge is everything, and just being educated on it, you have to continually remind people that, like, you may know, but you need to know more because there's something new and changing every day.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like this older generation is so much more savvy than kind of what we think of as the older generation because they grew up with they've had computers for a long time. Like my parents, know all of that stuff and yet still I'm hyper vigilant with them and I have to keep reminding them there's this new thing or that thing. So it's difficult, but it's great you educate your clients. I think that's so important.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'd love
Rich,
to Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to end with I'm sure you have so many for us, but if you would tell us a little nugget of wisdom that you have learned throughout your job, talking to clients or just working in this system.
Yeah, and I thought about that when we were putting this together, what might I advise. And the one thing that did come is that regardless of where you are in your life, regardless of, how successful or potentially successful you are will be, the thing you want to do is you want to start as soon as you get your first job, planning for your retirement. And
Mm,
with that, your retirement health care. Because once you get close, it's literally too late. And people always ask me, well, how early should I start thinking about Medicare? I'm like, your first job, you can establish a health savings account. The cost of being in retirement are two. One, you typically don't have income, you have resources that you're pulling and drawing down from, but then you also have your health, and your physical health unfortunately starts to deteriorate. Even the healthiest of people, start to deteriorate over time, which could lead to an issue. And the only common denominator between in those two situations is income or money, you know, means, if you will, and not having the resources, access to the resources is detrimental. You have to have that. Medicare is a governmental program which you pay into, but it only can do so much. Having money, having means can protect you even beyond that. Security wise too, it protects you with your security, because if you have the means, you can have better security. It's just another thing that we need to consider as early as humanly possible.
Thank you for that.
Sorry for the follow-up question. Does Medicare provide any identity protection for the elderly? Is there some tie-ups with
Yeah, so and that's a great question. There's been one seed change, if you will, in Medicare, from inception to now. That was 1965. And that is that they used to put your full Social Security number on your Medicare card and then have an identifier, alphanumeric identifier, A1, G2, or something like that. So your full Social Security, your name, and then this little identifier was on the Medicare card. At some point they realized, that's not that good of an idea, so let's change that. So they've gone to what they call a Medicare beneficiary ID, and that is just a bunch of random numbers. So it's irrelevant as to who can use it, but it still has your name on it. So we always tell people, you want to guard your Medicare card like you would a credit card. It's still as valuable. There's some information on it that they can glean from it, but that's probably the biggest change that has happened, technology or even security wise in Medicare as a rule. All the other things are just standard, don't give information away. We're not going to call you and ask you for anything because we already know it. All those type of standard things that you, again, like you said, Alyssa, would think are top of mind, but sometimes we forget because, oh, I'm from Medicare, I need to know this. Oh, okay, sure. As a normal response, trying to be trustworthy and feeling like, oh, he's someone who's concerned about me, because they sound all concerning. Oh, how are you, sweetie? How can I help you today? Oh, I'm just calling to update your information in your file. It makes it sound very homey, and people appreciate that hominess. But quite honestly, those are the ones you need to watch out for.
Yeah, that's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a great Medicare. I want to end with this. Medicare is the best insurance you will ever have. Period. End of story. That is not even a fallacy. There's no hyperbole. That is the absolute truth. It's the best insurance you'll ever have. So for the 3,500 more years you need to go, Alyssa, and the 10 more years for you, Sammy, when you'll be able to check for yourselves. But yes, it's the best insurance you can ever have.
Well, I'm glad it's on my mind now. Thank you so much, Rick, for sharing so much amazing information with us. I hope this has been helpful to everyone watching, for themselves as well as maybe their parents. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sammy, as well, to you for all of the cybersecurity insights. Thank you guys for watching.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye now.
From mannequin to Medicare.
Get t-shirts made.